weeks ago, many of us led busy and hectic lives. In fact, there wasn't enough hours in the day to do absolutely everything we wanted to do. What a contrast to now. Many of us are shut away in our homes with too many hours to fill. On Facebook, people are talking about how clean their houses are and they're doing room by room and getting it all looking good. I've heard in our road of people completing their DIY projects that perhaps they've had on hold for a very long time. Taking this time of isolation to get things done. Children are being homeschooled, and it's really good to see online of the different ways that people are homeschooling their children and all the ideas they have. And at the same time, there are parents trying to work at home while homeschooling their children. What a challenge. Others are enjoying their hobbies, and life is certainly different. However, the other side of this time of shutdown is the loneliness and isolation people are feeling. To not be able to hug your family, to have somebody talk to you face to face. And days can seem extremely long and lonely. As much as social media can be used for not so good purposes, for those who use it, it is now of great benefit as people can talk screen to screen on the computer. Skype is good for this. And on Thursday, we're going to start Bible studies on an app called Zoom. So look out for the connection thing, whatever it's called, so that you can join in this face-to-face Bible study and interact with each other. But you know, as much as we may feel physically isolated, spiritually, we need never be isolated from God. I read this quote on Facebook which said, "Social distance does not mean we have to be further from God. Now is a time to embrace him." What fabulous advice. I want to read to you some words from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Which says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace." I'd like to add a few ones to them. There is a time to stop and a time to rest. There's a time to listen to God and a time to talk to him. There is a time to think and meditate and a time to understand. There is a time to pray and a time to receive from God. I do believe that we've been gifted with some spare time. Let's not waste it. This is quality time that we can spend with God and do all of the above things. All the things I've spoken about. God is calling us to prayer. Today is the day of prayer for children and youth activities, ministries. It's also a calling to prayer for the coronavirus. We are being called to pray. And what a better time when our days are not so full that we can sit in quietness and contemplativeness and give our devotion to God, to pray for others, to pray for our children in our community, the youth of our community, the youth in our churches. James writes, draw near to God. This is in chapter 4, verse 8. Draw near to God and he will draw near to you. And I believe that as we do this, we will develop a new confidence in God. We'll develop a deeper relationship. If you remember those in the Salvation Army, we looked on Commitment Sunday, God giving us infinitely more. Now it's time. You've got time to find out what that infinitely more is. It's time to deepen our experience of God by spending time with him in prayer and in the reading of his word. It's funny, I've been reading God's word and I'm reading through the Bible again, and it's very interesting. God is speaking about the people of Israel, and when somebody's got a disease, they must be isolated from everybody else. So what we're doing isn't particularly new. God ordained it. Stay in, be safe, so that we can save lives. Stay in and pray for others, so that we can save lives. Draw near to God and he will draw near to you. The more we do it, the more we will feel his presence. The more we will know that God is in control. That his presence is here in this very moment. So please, I urge you in these days, don't feel that God is far apart from you. He's with us. We keep hearing the phrase, we're in it together, and we are. But God is also in it with us. Take time to listen. Take time to worship, to read God's word, to talk to God about what's on your heart, what's on your mind. A lot of us are a bit frightened at the minute, scared to go out because we're hearing of the effect this virus has. But if we do as we're told, as God ordained, be separated for a while, I'm sure that life can get back to some kind of normality, although I'm not sure it'll ever be normal again, because people are rediscovering what it is to take notice of each other, to talk to each other. I live in a wonderful community and I've been ringing around people saying, would you like some shopping? Would you like this? Oh no, thank you. My neighbours I've got great neighbours and they're all looking after me. How wonderful is that? God is in that too. As we spend more time with God, we will experience more of him than we could even think of or imagine. Use this time to discover what God has in store for you. God bless you in these days. Amen.